Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this very special crossover show for the Mutt's American Mosaic and Mutt's True Crime. Tonight, we are going to discuss the 1978 Lufthansa heist, where $7.8 million in cash and jewels was stolen from JFK Airport. I am your host, the Celtic Mutt, and I am joined, as usual, by my very beautiful co-host,
Mrs. Mutt. Thank you, my love.
You are very welcome. Now, we were discussing prior to the show start, how many murders were there exactly in association with this after the fact, which we will be covering?
You know, you had that exact number. I don't recall.
It was 13.
13. I was thinking 12.
No, it was 13.
Is that including the two that were...
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, the two that were after the fact?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Now, I know you had a lot of the overall general pulse of the actual crime itself.
Mm-hmm.
And I covered a lot of the cultural stuff that occurred afterwards. So I think it would be best if we kind of laid down groundwork as to what
right. Now,
the heist was.
For anyone who doesn't know, for one, the reason this was rattling around in my brain when you were talking about true American crimes is this comes from one of my favorite movies, Goodfellas. There's something about mobster movies for me, and this is one of my absolute favorites. And it's based on a true story.
Yes, and we will be covering a little later. We'll be covering how the book, The Wise Guys, written by Nicholas Pileggi, was influenced by the heist, and the book then influenced Scorsese to make the movie Goodfellas.
But I'll be honest with you, because I love the movie, got the book.
Right.
The book is nothing like the movie. It's not like
it never
Scorsese. No, but this is not like Scorsese read the book and like, this is such a great story, and then based the movie on the book. No, the book, he talked to Henry Hill, which is Ray Liotta's character, and wrote about Henry Hill, but it's not the same story as what Goodfellas gives you.
No, they very much, as Hollywood tends to do, dramatized
Well,
quite a bit of
it's
it.
not even that. It's just a completely different thing.
Well, yeah,
It's a much drier thing. It
covered more of the actual crime, whereas the book, no?
No, it's not even. It's two different things.
Okay.
I can't explain it. It's been so long since I read Pileggi's book. That was out in Arizona, but it's not even.
Okay.
It does not have any action in it like this. It's not the same story, period.
I don't know. There was quite a bit of action in
Yes,
the actual
yes.
heist. I mean, and
There's
the after
and there's
effect.
obviously all sorts of action in the movie,
Right.
but the book has no action in it.
Well, Pileggi was a crime reporter, so he was pretty much. I would imagine, having not read the book, but knowing some reporters myself, and knowing that they tend to try to stick to just the facts, ma'am, just the facts. He
Not
probably
so much.
sterilized it.
Not necessarily. Some of them like to sensationalize, to sell the papers.
Right.
And this was, the book would have covered, if you look at Goodfellas, that covers several years. If that book inspired the movie, it would cover several years.
Yeah. Thank you, Mac. And just off topic here, real quick. The legs are getting there. For those of you who don't know, and for those who are joining us on over on Twitch, which this is being dual streamed tonight, I have a condition that is being dealt with, and that is what Mac is referring to. For those of you who may see it in the chat. But you and I can talk about that after the show, Mac, if you like. I'm sorry. Go ahead, dear.
No problem. But let me put it this way. Let's just ignore the fact that Pileggi's book is dull and dry, especially compared.
Okay.
I found an article. Really, this comes from allthat'sinteresting.com.
Okay.
The title of it is Why the Lufthansa Heist Was Far Crazier Than What Goodfellas Depicted.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, if any of our audience is from New York, they're going to be able to picture some of this better than others.
Right.
But early morning, December 11th of 78, 3 o'clock in the morning, roughly.
Right.
That early. They had a stolen black Ford Econoline van.
Yes.
Outside of JFK, the international airport.
Right.
There's several men in it waiting for a signal, and they're all wearing black ski masks. At 3:12 a.m., they got the signal, and the van backed up to the deliveries entrance of the Lufthansa airline terminal. The masked men got out, each of them armed with a loaded weapon, and entered the terminal. 64 minutes. They quietly slipped out, loaded the van with $5 million, which makes me wonder where you got your number from, because I never saw that amount.
It is one of the numbers that it may have been a sensationalized number.
Yeah, because I got $5 million, and this was pretty consistent. $5 million in untraceable cash, and $875,000 in jewels, and got away with what was at the time the largest sum ever stolen on U.S. soil.
Message for you, son.
Now I know that what you were describing as far as the black van coincides with what Kerry Whalen, who was the security officer, who was actually beaten by several of the thieves, was saying. He literally got out of he saw the van, he started to walk towards the terminal, got even with the van, kind of glanced over and realized when he saw the men in masks that he was in trouble.
I'm sure that was an oh fudge moment.
Yes, very much so. And I think he said he got several steps past the van before he heard the doors open and felt a very sharp pain to the back of his head. And they commenced beating him. I will be covering. He actually wrote a book, which I will be listing some of the books that the heist was the catalyst for a little later, and his is one of those books.
Now, to this day, only one man has ever been in prison for it.
Would that be the gentleman?
Let me guess, you're thinking Jimmy Burke.
Yep, Gentleman Jimmy.
Jimmy the Gent.
Jimmy the Gent. That's what it was. Yes.
Do not believe that he was in prison for it. He, I believe, was in prison for something else.
Oh, okay.
Now, for those of you who recognize the name Jimmy, but are like, well, which Jimmy? And I don't remember the name Burke. Jimmy the Gent was Jimmy Burke in real life, but he was portrayed by Robert De Niro in the movie, but the character's name was Jimmy Conway in the movie.
Right, Jimmy Conway.
Right. If I remember right, I'm trying to double check this, but I believe Lufthansa was not only a German airline, but it was also Lufthansa. The reason it has such a German sound is because it was the German, the money from the German exchange.
Yeah, you and I were discussing that because I had originally thought that it was a German section of New York, a very heavily German section, but that's not the case.
No, this was money that had come back in from Europe.
Gotcha.
They say that there's no way that this kind of heist could be pulled off in the same way today. But then again, it was the 70s in New York.
Well, I don't know.
A lot of things then that were done then could not be done today.
Well, I mean, look at Guarena, Victor Guarena in '97, who pulled off what was the largest Loomis heist.
Yeah.
So I mean, and that was 20 years later.
Yeah, but this was because the mafia. Well,
so was in a manner of speaking. So was the Guarena heist. He was actually working with an organization that called the Machete Wielders, who were for a free Puerto Rico, which was the militant arm of a much larger group in Puerto Rico that was trying to get out from underneath U.S. sovereignty. So, I mean, I guess the point I'm making is that those kinds of heists, if they're going to happen, they're going to happen, regardless of what fail safes are put into place.
Yeah. Now, for anyone who, doesn't know or doesn't remember, there were at that time 5 families of the New York Mafia. Max says Mr. Mutt has a leafed gun too.
Okay, I'm not sure.
Anyway, those families at least one of them were behind almost every major crime committed during their heyday.
Right.
And these families were the Bonanno, Colombo, Gambino, Genovese, and Lucchese families. Now, in the case of the Lufthansa heist, it was the Lucchese family, specifically their associate named Jimmy Burke, that was the mastermind. Burke, like I said, played by Robert De Niro as Jimmy Conway in Goodfellas, was an uncharacteristic sort of mafia man. Now, he was Irish American, not Italian American, so he could never become a made man. His heritage was a blessing and a curse. Because he could not be a made man, it also meant that he could be a free agent of sorts. So while other associates found themselves helplessly and hopelessly bound to one family, he was able to make his own allegiance or allegiances.
He freelanced,
Yeah,
basically.
he was able to choose the family that he wanted to work for. As a young man, he became an associate of the Lucchese family and began working the streets for them.
He ran the numbers, didn't he?
I don't know.
I thought he was running numbers as a boy.
No, the plan actually took shape at Robert's Lounge, the tavern in the Ozone Park neighborhood of Queens that he actually owned.
Okay.
And it served as a hub for criminals and a spot where dirty deals were made. On one particular evening at the lounge, Burke's associate, Henry Hill, which he was portrayed by Ray Liotta, and that is his actual name, Henry Hill.
Yes. He actually wrote one of the books I'm going to cover later.
Okay, and he is the character or the person, that Pelegi talked to write his book.
Right.
He met with a bookmaker associate of his named Martin Krugman. Now, Krugman, I believe, was portrayed as Morty or something like that in the movie. I'll know for sure in a little bit here. Krugman was owed some money by a man named Lewis Werner, who worked at JFK. Werner, to get out of the debt, told Krugman about the vault. He had actually, several years prior, stolen $22,000 in cash from a Lufthansa vault.
Wasn't it just a few weeks earlier?
No, several years.
Oh, okay. I thought that
now
there was somebody.
Here's where it is. This is once a month, millions of dollars in untraceable American currency would be flown into JFK, the results of monetary exchanges made for servicemen and tourists in West Germany. So that is where the money came from.
Got you. So this was during the East German, West German. Okay. Yeah, because that makes sense. That would have been in 1978. So, yeah, there was still an East Germany and a West Germany. Right. So,
basically, Burke agreed to orchestrate the heist for the Lucchese family in exchange for a nice chunk of change. Over the course of several months, he plotted alongside Werner, Krugman, and other associates who knew the inner workings of the airport and how security worked. Werner even supplied Burke with information on where to park what time to enter, and how long they should stay inside. So they had this down to a science before they set foot on JFK property.
Yep. Hold on one second. Hey, Mac, as far as AD is concerned, I'm not sure exactly where she is. I know that she knows about this because I sent her a notification. I sent out several notifications through Facebook, private messages. So I know that she got one of those. So if she checks her messages, she knows about us going live. And she knows that we go live on Wednesdays anyway. So I mean, I've already reached out to her. But anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead, honey.
No problem.
For those of you on Twitch who don't know, we have a very dedicated number of people who watch the show, and we do interact with them. So sometimes you'll hear us stop what we're talking about to address something that is being asked in the chat. So if our flow is off, that's why.
And we hope that those joining us on Twitch become as familiar with us and we with them.
Yeah, absolutely. We welcome everybody who's over on Twitch to join us over here on YouTube, and those on YouTube who want to follow Mutt's American Crime, you can do that by going over to Twitch and finding us on Mutt's American Crime over there. Anyway, I'm sorry, honey. I didn't mean to interrupt the flow.
Burke began assembling the team. He got Tommy Two Guns DeSimon.
Love that name.
I know. He got that name because he had a pair of pearl-handled pistols.
Pearl-handled 45s, okay. Yes.
And this Tommy DeSimon was played by Joe Pesci as Tommy DeVito in the movie.
His character got on my nerves in the movie. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, to call him a loose cannon
and I believe the actual character was actually worse than what DeVito was.
Well,
or at least as bad.
Tommy Burke wasn't exactly. He had a little out of hand. Because he got paranoid.
Yeah, and we'll cover that.
Yeah, we'll
get into that.
He also recruited Angelo Seppi.
Yep.
Louis Cafora.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Cibidello Sr., Tony Rodriguez, Joseph M. Costa, Joe Manry, and Robert McMahon. These were all chosen from the Lucchese family, along with Paolo Licastri, who was a representative of the Gambino family.
Yes.
In addition to Burke, he selected his own son, Frank, and an associate of his named Parnell Stax Edwards, who they both served as drivers.
Stax. We will be talking.
Stax is a major player.
We will be talking about Stax and Bats later.
Yeah. Well, Billy wasn't even mentioned there yet.
No, not yet.
We will definitely touch on Billy in a little while.
As well as Stax.
Yes. And for those of you who are interested to see the actual pictures of the people, the article here at allthat'sinteresting.com has photos. One of them is in a legend photo of the person. They can't say for sure it is the actual person.
If you can send me that link, I can attach it to the...
Sure.
I can attach it later after the live, and we can attach it, and they can follow the link.
Our email, David and Scott.
Yep.
Sorry. The three sources I'm looking at are in that email. Those links.
If you can send me those, I will attach those to
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is they're in that the email there.
You'll find that I will be attaching those links that she's referencing.
The only one that's not in there is the article on Billy Bats, and that is at the All That's Interesting.
Allthat'sinteresting.com?
Yeah.
Okay.
Other associates were also looped in. Paul Vario, who I don't remember. Paul Sorvino played him in Goodfellas. I just don't remember the last name they gave him in Goodfellas, and they don't supposed to say it here. Was actually a captain in the Lucchese family.
Right.
And of course, he was involved. He actually sent his son, Paul, to ensure that his end of the loot was procured. Vincent Asaro. What was that?
What, one of the Pauls?
Yes.
Making reference. And if you've seen Goodfellas, or it's been a while, everybody,
Paul and Maria.
Everybody was either Paul, Paulie, or if you're a female, some variation of Maria. Literally almost everybody.
Were always married to Maria.
Yes. And they always had a Maria if they had a girl.
And if they had a boy, it was a Paul.
Or a Paulie. Yeah. Yeah.
And we'll find out some interesting things about Paul and Henry and Henry's wife, Karen. And Tommy Two Guns.
Yes.
A little while.
Which was not portrayed in the movie.
Anyway, Vincent Asaro, crime crew chief of the Bonanno family, was also looped in. So here we have the Lucchese's, the
Gambinos,
and we have the Bonanno, because this was actually committed by Lucchese men on Bonanno territory, so they had to get their cut.
Yep.
And
Paulie
got his cut because these were his men. He was, he was the captain of the Lucchese family.
Yep.
And Jimmy would orchestrate it from afar and be responsible for tying up loose ends.
Which we will also be covering very, very shortly. Oh boy, there are lots of loose ends.
The stolen van sat outside the terminal, like we said. 3:12, they got their cue. A cargo agent named Kerry Whalen. This is the gentleman you were talking about, correct?
Yes, Kerry Whalen is the security officer.
He noticed the van, went to investigate. Hello, little girl. I'm sorry, my Trinity decided to join us. Apparently, she wants to get involved, and she just did God knows what and took me off my screen. I don't even know what you did, little lady.
For those who don't know, Trinity is our 1.5-year-old calico cat.
Oh, she opened another window. Okay. Apparently she wants to sit in Mama's lap. So, he saw the vehicle, got out to investigate. It says immediately he was pistol whipped and dragged into the van.
Yep.
His wallet was taken. His family was threatened. Faced with no choice, he agreed to cooperate. And that's how it all began. As he was being held, another agent heard the commotion and went to investigate as well. As he entered the loading dock, 6 armed men in ski masks ambushed him. With a key that had been provided by Warner, the men entered the building and rounded up the remaining employees, sequestered them in a break room, using the bloodied and beaten Whalen as proof that they were not there to play games. After rounding up all the employees, one of the Lucchese members ordered the senior cargo agent to call Rudy Elric. Elric, Warner had told them, was the only man with the codes to get into the vaults. Into the vault's 2-door system. He was summoned via a ruse about a technical problem with the cargo. He was then forced to activate the doors, which he was surprised the masked men had such extensive knowledge of. Warner definitely made sure Burke knew what was going on. He explained that the double door system was extremely important. And when we're saying double doors, we're not talking side by side.
One side.
We're talking one past the other.
Oh, okay. So
you
they're not
have to
go through
close first door before you can unlock the second door.
Yeah, that's without
standard, setting off the alarm.
Yeah, that's pretty standard with a double door system.
Well, it was not common knowledge at that point in time.
Well, I'm also speaking with 23 years of security experience.
So that's why Elrich was surprised.
He was definitely surprised.
So any misstep could result in the security system being activated, and if that happened, there would be no chance of escape. The Port Authority police could have the entire airport locked down in less than 90 seconds.
That's crazy.
Yeah. The first door had to be unlocked, opened, then closed, and relocked before the second door was opened.
Yeah.
And the same procedure leaving. Second door had to be closed and locked before the first door could be opened again.
Right.
So Burke's men actually had Elric open the first door, then wait with them in the chamber between the doors while they evaluated the cargo.
And refresh my memory, you said the whole robbery took
64
minutes. That's what I thought you said. Okay.
They forced Elric at gunpoint to lay on the ground while they sifted through the cargo manifests, deciding which parcels to steal when the moment was right. Once the 40 or so parcels were selected, Elric was made to unlock the second door. The cargo was then loaded into the chamber, and the second door was relocked. After that, the outer door was unlocked. One man returned Elric at gunpoint to the break room where the rest of the employees were being held under guard. At 4:16, so like I said, the signal to move was at 3:12. At 4:16, all of the cargo had been loaded into the van. The Lufthansa employees were then instructed not to make any phone calls until 4:30, giving Burke's men roughly 15 minutes to escape. It's a little bit of a buffer.
A little bit.
At 4:21, the van pulled out of the loading dock, and true to their word and under threat of death, the Lufthansa employees waited 14 minutes to alert the authorities. By the time they arrived, there wasn't a sign of Burke's men in sight. Burke's men had pulled off the country's greatest heist, leaving with $5 million in cash, and this here at this point says $1 million in jewelry.
Oh, yeah, they rounded up.
$2 million haul when adjusted for inflation.
Yeah, I think they said the original was 875,000 in jewels, which adjusted for inflation is now roughly like $2 million.
Now, it would have been, or could have been the perfect crime had it not been for one man's selfish little mistake.
And here we talk about my boy Stacks.
Yeah, good old Stacks.
Stacks decided
one fatal mistake.
Yep, and ladies and gentlemen, I will say that, and I'm going to interject here before Mrs. Mutt continues. A man has two heads. In this particular case, Jimmy Stacks was not using the proper one, and that's what I'm going to say about that.
Okay. Remember the heist was on the 11th.
Right.
On the 13th of December, 2 days later, police received a call from a patrol officer reporting a large van parked in a no parking zone in Canarsie, I hope that's how it's pronounced, Brooklyn. From the looks of it, the patrol officer said it matched the description of the van given by the Lufthansa employees. And there is a picture of the van
Stacks
in this article. The investigators and fingerprint experts immediately rushed to the van and impounded it. They thought it was the same one seen at JFK. Upon further investigation, fingerprints belonged to one Parnell Edwards, aka Stax,
who actually was a guitar player, I believe, or musician at Hill's Club, was he not?
I'm thinking so.
I think he was. I think that's how he got looped in. He had a friend, and I didn't mean to interrupt you. I apologize. He had a friend who worked at a scrapyard. His sole job, Stax's sole job, was to take the van and have it crushed and disposed of by giving the van over to his friend at the scrapyard. He was very well liked by everybody at Hill's Club, so they figured they could trust him and would loop him in for a little extra cash. Everybody and the brother got in on this heist, and some girlfriends, wives, friends of friends.
That money, at least in theory, was like splinters of the cross.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
You know,
but to be fair, as far as Stax goes, it wasn't just the head's issue.
Yeah.
He got a little something else involved there.
Well, yeah, that's true. That's true. He did. Well, he was also involved in a little bit of.
He had a little something to drink and a little something to go up the nose.
Yeah. He was definitely involved. I think he was involved with Hill's illicit substance. To be careful in what I'm saying, illicit substance distribution.
That it doesn't necessarily say that. It just says he indulged in alcohol and a illegal substance. We'll say.
Well, right, but I know that Hill was very active in that particular.
There was more than just Hill involved.
Right. But he worked for Hill, so.
Well, Edwards never saw him, or Stax never saw prison.
No, he never did.
He never saw a jail cell for this.
No, he did not.
He was never even questioned by police. He'd actually been, quote unquote, taken care of by Jimmy the Gent.
Yes.
The tale of his great mistakes soon came to light.
Yep.
He, like you said, he'd been tasked of disposing with the van after the money had been moved. Immediately following the heist, he had been told to take the van to a car compactor in New Jersey and get rid of it.
Yes.
Yeah, he wasn't quite as adept at following the rules as he was robbing the airport.
No. Well, he really didn't have anything to do with the robbery of the airport itself.
No, but he was the driver.
Right.
Instead of heading straight for New Jersey, he took a detour to his girlfriend's house.
As I said,
on the way, he indulged in a joint or two.
Yeah, spicy drinks and.
Well, no, this is just on the way. The joint or two. Ended up parking the van, very much being searched for van in a no parking zone. After indulging yet again,
not bright,
and this, like I said, he had a little something to drink and another illegal substance. Edwards proceeded to pass out and forget about the van.
Take the van to Jersey.
Upon hearing about this mistake, Burke decided it was time to take matters into his own hands in order to keep his associates, almost all of them, from making other mistakes or talking to cops.
Yes, and that's where
Jimmy. How did Jimmy guarantee everyone's silence after the Lufthansa heist?
Death.
By not being fussy about who he had to kill in order to get it.
Death.
After all, dead men tell
no tales.
And there is a picture of Stax as well. It's a looks to be a mugshot.
I was going to say, this is a before shot, right?
It's not from the Lufthansa heist,
I got
obviously. According to Hill, who later became an invaluable witness for the government and helped put Burke, among others, in jail. But again, Burke did not serve time for this crime, I don't believe. Edwards' mistake sent Burke into a state of high anxiety.
Yes.
So, according to the FBI, it had only taken them 3 days after finding the van to pinpoint Burke as the mastermind and as the mastermind and his crew as the perpetrators. And Burke felt the heat. According to Hill, Burke vowed that he would kill anyone who might be able to implicate him in the heist. And before long, that's exactly what he did.
Yeah. Nobody was safe from Burke's paranoia.
Yeah. Stacks was the first victim killed at his apartment by Tommy Two Guns DeSimon and Angelo Seppi.
Yep.
Then was Krugman. After that, several of the gunmen Burke had enlisted, along with a few of their immediate family members.
I'm actually going to be breaking that down for everybody.
Well, within 6 months, almost everyone involved with the heist was dead or missing.
While we're talking about that, why don't I go ahead and break that down for them real quick? What do you think?
Sure. And I'm just going to say that these were either done by Burke's own hand.
Yes.
Or thanks to an associate.
All right. So we were talking about Purnell Stephen Stacks Edwards. He was disposed of. We'll put it that way for the sake of internet speech. On December the 18th of 1978. Blues musician, credit card thief expert, and getaway driver shot by DeSimon and Seppi for failing to dispose of the van. And then there was Martin Krugman.
Which again, in the movie, I believe that was Morty.
I believe you might be right.
He was the one with the rug, the toupees.
The toupees, yes. He was eliminated from the gene pool on January the 6th, 1979.
Putting it that way makes me wonder, were any of these people on the Darwin list? Or
I don't know. He was an associate of Burke and Hill's and the owner of a wig shop and men's hair salon, both named for men only in Queens. Krugman was the first to tip off Burke via Hill about the potential for a major heist. And then I'm synopsizing some of these, ladies and gentlemen. Richard Eaton was then gotten rid of, if you will, on January the 17th, 1979. Florida-based con artist and associate of Tommy Monteleone. He was involved with the actual heist, but was tortured and murked by Burke after absconding with $250,000 of his money in a fake coke scam, and scheming some of the take while it was laundered through various legitimate establishments. Then there was Tommy. There was Tommy himself that I was just talking about, who was again removed from the gene pool in March of 1979. Also from Florida. He was a restaurateur, mobster, and associate of Eaton's. He owned the Players Club a local bar frequented by Burke gang members and was, excuse me, accused by Burke of conspiring with Eaton and Ferreira on a fake coke deal, scheming, pardon me, I'm sorry, skimming off part of the take while laundering through his club. So the man was basically double dipping, it sounds like. Um, Louis, or excuse me, Louis Cafaro, Cafora, Louis Cafora was a Brooklyn parking lot owner and money launderer. Cafera had been Burke's cellmate in prison and was contracted by Burke to launder some of the take through his collection of legitimate lots. Sounds like I said, it sounds to me like everybody was getting double dipped. Joanne Cafora, Lewis's wife, presumably murked along with him. So she was just guilty by association, apparently.
Well, we did hear that he killed members of certain families.
Yes, this is true. Joe Buddha Manring was eliminated as a suspect permanently on May 15th, 1979. He was a night shift air freight cargo supervisor. Manry was a long-time Burke associate, and his inside information helped plan the heist. Manry was repeatedly offered the opportunity to turn state's evidence and enter the witness protection program, as was fellow airport worker Robert McMahon, an offer which both refused. Manry was found dead in a parked car alongside McMahon 5 months after the heist. Wow, they were still. It was 5 months later, and they're still eliminating suspects.
They said within 6 months, almost everyone involved.
Yeah, Robert McMahon was removed from the heist planning committee. I'm trying to find interesting ways to say certain things. On May 16th, 1979, he was an Air France. He was an Air France night shift supervisor at Kennedy Airport, involved in the similar Air France robbery in 1967 with Burke associate Henry Hill. I didn't know that Hill pulled off one in 67. Suspected of helping Manry plan the heist, he was found dead in a parked car alongside Manry, as I was just stating. In the back, he was pew-pewed in the back of the head. I'll just put it that way. Paulo Lacastri, Paulo Lacastri, was eliminated from being a suspect on June 13th, 1979. Okay, hold on a minute. Oh, there we go. He was an illegal immigrant, Sicilian-born, pizza connection, drug trafficking, and Gambino crime family associate.
Who was that?
That would be Paulo.
Paolo Lacastri?
Yes. Others involved in the planning, execution, or follow-up of the heist who were eliminated, but not on Burke's order in 1979, are as follows: Thomas DeStefan,
I got to see
D
it.
E S I DESIMONE.
DeSimone.
DeSimone, okay. He was eliminated.
That would be Tommy Two Guns.
Tommy Two Guns, okay. On January 14th, 1979. He was involved in the similar Air France robbery in 1967 with Burke associate Hill, and disappeared on January 14, 1979, and presumed murdered for having carried out the unrelated elimination of two Maid Gambino family members. He didn't get the green light to do that.
Oh, no. And yeah, we're
gonna cover that shortly.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that.
Okay. Teresa Ferreira was somehow involved and eliminated as a suspect permanently, if you catch my meaning, on February the 10th, 1979. She was the occasional mistress of several of the associates of both Eaton and Monteleone. Ferreira disappeared on February the 10th, 1979. Her dismembered torso was found floating in Barnegat Inlet. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that right. Barnegat Inlet near the Toms River, New Jersey area on May 18th. Ooh. Lucchese. Okay, this is a Lucchese family member, Angelo Seppi. Wow, even Angelo Seppi got it. I didn't realize that. Lucchese family member and a chosen close associate of Burke's, DeStefano and Tony.
You mean DeSimon?
DeSimon. I keep saying DeStefano. I'm sorry. DeSimon and Tony Rodriguez. Seppi was responsible for most of the post-heist murks.
So Burke would put a bug in Seppi's ear and Seppi would go run.
Yes. Seppi and his girlfriend were themselves murked by unknown members of the Lucchese hit squad. Reportedly, a week after robbing the Lucchese-affiliated drug traffic of thousands of dollars in coke and cash earmarked for the family. Ooh, he robbed the Lucchese's? No wonder he got eliminated. Yeah, not smart, my man. Not smart at all.
You don't bite the hand that feeds you.
No, Joanne Lombardo, July the 18th of 1984. Seppi's 19-year-old. He's a dirty old man. Seppi was a dirty old man. That's all I'm going to say. Seppi's.
How old was Seppi?
I don't know, but he had a wife, and this is his 19-year-old girlfriend. Shot once in the mouth. She must have lipped off. Frank Burke on May the 18th, 19.
That's Jimmy's son.
That's Jimmy's son, yes. Was eliminated on May 18th, 1987. Seppi's. Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. Son of Jimmy Burke and believed to be involved in the heist. he was murked by his
drug dealer.
I'm trying to find words that I'm not going to get in trouble for.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize.
On yes, his dealer over a botched drug deal. I'll put it that way. A botched deal. There we go. And that's the murder list, if you will, the Merc list, if you will, of people who were eliminated.
We have misspoken. Bats was not part of the heist in any way, shape, or form.
Jimmy Bats?
Yeah.
Okay. I know we talked a lot about bats prior to the show, so
because we see bats.
Were we mistaking bats for stacks?
No. Completely different. You can't look at them and think mistake them for each other.
And I'm not saying that. I'm saying that we were switching. We were giving one the name of the other. When you and I were having a discussion.
We never saw stacks in the movie,
right?
And we saw their representation of Billy Bat's downfall. We'll say.
Right.
This goes to say the real story of Billy Bats that Goodfellas didn't tell. That's the title.
Yeah. Okay.
This tells us that the way they took care of Billy Bats in Goodfellas was tame compared to what really happened to him, according to Henry Hill.
So what you're basically, just so I'm clear, what they showed in the movie was not really what happened.
No.
I got you.
It was dulled down, was tamed.
Was this the shovel incident?
Yeah, they didn't go to Tommy's mom's for something to eat late at night while they left Billy in the car. And the three went in to eat and took something from Tommy's mom's.
Let's just go ahead and put it out there. I can't dance. I can't dance around this. I feel like it's not giving the full weight.
You know better what to
just go ahead and I will deal with it.
In the movie, they okay. In the movie, what did actually happen was they were at Robert's Lounge, which again was owned by Burke, and Billy Bats, whose real name was William Bentvena, and Billy Bats was his real nickname.
Right.
Had just gotten out of prison. He had served, I believe it was 15 years. Okay?
Did a 15 piece.
The last time Billy had seen Tommy Two Guns, he was really just a kid.
Yeah.
Trying to work his way up in the family. And one of the things he was doing was shining shoes.
Okay.
So Billy made a comment about Tommy shining his shoes. And Billy was a made man. Tommy at this point was not.
Ooh. You asked a made man to shine. Oh.
So he made this comment, and it did not go over well with Tommy. He took major offense
Well, yeah, I can see it.
In 59, Billy became an associate of the Gambino crime family and also took on a job for Joe the Crow Del Vecchio and Arresto Ernie Boy Abamonte.
Joe the Crow?
Yeah, Joe the Crow.
I had not heard
and
that
Ernie
name.
Boy. To conduct a deal in Bridgeport, Connecticut.
Deal.
That unfortunately didn't go well.
Right.
And led to his arrest by an undercover officer. It got him charges of possession and exchange.
Mm-hmm.
So in 61, he became a full member of the Gambino family.
He became a member of this thing of ours, as it is referred to often.
Okay. The cops would come for him again a year later in 62, and he would receive the 15-year sentence. Somehow he was, I'm assuming, good behavior, what have you. He actually was released in 70. So, like I said, Tommy had been shining shoes and working his way up the last time Billy had seen him. But he wasn't a rookie anymore. He had made a name for himself. And just as the movie portrays, he is prone to, let's just say, flying off the handle.
Acts of random... Yes.
Yeah, flying off the handle and taking things too far.
Yes.
Simon, it's likely that Billy didn't mean it as an insult, but Tommy Two Guns took it as such when Billy asked him if he still shines shoes.
Oh.
As Henry Hill put it. His intention didn't matter.
No.
Tommy Two Guns was so...
It was too late.
Hot, to put it mildly. And he is, according to Hill, he told him and Burke, I'm going to, can I say kill?
Eliminate.
Okay, take care of that expletive. 2 weeks later, on June 11th, he followed through. They were actually at the suite, which can't remember who owned. Burke actually held Billy down while Tommy, the Simon, shouted Chinese shoes before beating Bats in the head.
Damn. Yeah, there was some anger management issues there.
Where when they helped Billy into the vehicle in the movie, yeah, that's exactly where they did help him into. In actuality.
Yeah.
But it doesn't say that they went and got dinner with the Simon's moms, let alone got the utensil of choice.
Right. Man, I tell you.
Instead, their tools of choice to complete the job were a shovel and a
So the knife and fork were not used as portrayed in the movie. It was a shovel.
And a
just say it.
I'm trying to think of the word.
Ice pick?
No.
I thought it was a knife.
That was from the movie.
Right.
But no, in reality, it was the shovel and I want to say it's the car tool.
Oh, the tire iron.
Yes.
So yes, he was eliminated with a tire iron and a
shovel.
Yes.
Poked 30 to 40 times, according to Hill.
Deflated. He was highly depleted. And no, I'm not making light. So yeah, that. Wow.
And Kerry Whalen again.
Yep.
That airport employee that I believe he was the one that was beaten.
He was security officer.
Yeah. Wrote his own book.
Yeah, I'm going to be covering here shortly. He wrote the book was titled "Give Me Just a Minute."
I got the title.
Hold on, so do I. I just gotta.
All I was going to say is that also shed some light on Billy Bat's death.
What was okay? Give me the title of the book.
Inside the Lufthansa heist, the FBI lied.
Yeah, the FBI lied.
And that came out in 2015.
Yes, that is And he's now in his 70s. I saw an interview with him that was done, I think, in 2015. And he was talking about it then. But yeah, it did not go as everybody had hoped and planned. Nobody got rich on that one. At least not for long. Now, it did have quite a cultural. Did you have any more that you were going to cover with your end of things?
Give me a second.
Because I was going to go into the cultural aspect here in just a moment, but if you have more, I will happily wait till you.
Yes, I do.
Okay, go for it.
I'm going to scroll down to find a right range.
Never let it be said that we don't cover culture here, ladies and gentlemen.
Jimmy Burke, like we said, had eliminated virtually every threat to his freedom or his wealth.
There you go.
The
heist.
There was almost no one left to go to prison if they'd actually been caught. 40 years after the heist, only one man has ever served time for direct involvement.
Who was that?
Did you say who was that?
Who was that?
Lewis Warner.
Warner, okay.
He was arrested 4 months after the heist for providing the robbers with information regarding the terminal layout.
Huh.
He was convicted in May of 1979 and served, oddly enough, just like Billy Batts, 15 years. Well, actually, he served. Billy was sentenced to 15, but only served 8.
Right.
In 1980, Henry Hill was arrested for trafficking, fearing Burke would have him eliminated as a way to prevent him from cooperating with authorities. He turned state's evidence and volunteered to be an informant.
Now, did you? That right there leads me to ask the question, because in the movie, and I'm gonna make comparisons from the movie to. In the movie, they talked about when their house got raided. Karen, who we still need to talk about, flushed a lot of the product down the toilet.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when they really realized that they could very easily be targets at that point.
She really realized it when she went and talked to Burke, and he said, "Go down here and go pick yourself out a dress." And she's thought it was suspicious and decided to leave instead of going in and getting the
Oh,
dress.
go pick yourself out a dress. In other words, to be buried in. At least that was the implication.
She got the idea that if she had gone, she would not have walked out with the dress.
I got you.
That's the feeling I got in watching.
Okay. Oh, was that in the movie?
Yeah.
Okay, that was okay. Okay, I was okay. All right, yeah, I remember the scene.
Well, you have to realize Henry saw everything that Burke did right after the heist.
Absolutely.
And the aftermath and how paranoid and greedy and everything that Burke became.
Right.
So he could see, okay, well, I just got caught. This is what they're going to see. This is what he's going to think. This is going to be his response.
Right.
I need to do something. These are my options. This is where I'm going to go.
Now, I know that in something I read, and I'm kind of giving you a softball here, I think, a little bit, because I think it was also something you and I discussed earlier in the week. Wasn't Burke at one point trying or did have an affair with Karen?
No.
No?
That wasn't Burke.
That wasn't Burke? Oh, okay, I thought it was Burke. So who was it?
I don't know. I don't believe it was Burke. That would I have to go back over here to double check that, but
I thought it was Burke.
I don't.
Or was it Tommy?
I believe it was Tommy.
Tommy Two Guns?
No, pardon me. You're getting two different people doing something.
Okay.
While Henry was in prison,
right,
Paul was having an affair.
Got it. Okay.
And if I remember right, Tommy tried to
assault.
Yeah.
Karen. Yes. Okay. That's where I was getting confused. Okay. I knew that there was something that we were leaving out.
So, yeah.
And that was while Hill was serving his stretch.
Yes, that's right. While Henry was in, yes.
Okay. Okay.
But again, Henry did decide that it was better for him and presumably his family for him to go ahead and become an informant and enter witness protection.
Right.
He provided the authorities with decades, not a decade, decades worth of information on Burke, Vario, and others.
Well, you got to remember, he started out as a 10, 12-year-old kid working for them.
They don't state that in here. I don't remember.
Maybe I'm
specifically
getting that
Vario,
from the movie.
But from the movie, it looked that way.
Yeah, that was the impression I got from the movie, I think.
Vario and Burke did go to prison following Hill's cooperation, but neither case had anything to do with the heist. Vario was arrested for racketeering, gambling, and loan sharking charges. Burke was arrested for his part in a basketball point shaving scheme.
Alrighty then.
Both of them died in prison. Vario in 88, Burke in 96.
Didn't they both die of the same cancer?
I don't believe so.
Oh, I knew 2 of them died of cancer that were...
Well, even so, I don't think if they did die of cancer, it wasn't the same kind.
I thought they were. Okay.
In 2014, 36 years after the Lufthansa heist, it seemed there might finally be another arrest involving a direct player. Vincent Asario. He was the crime chief of the Bonanno family.
Right.
He was arrested in connection with the heist at the age of 78.
Wow.
He went to trial and denied he had anything to do with the heist. That claim was backed up by Hill before he died in 2012.
Before who died in 2012?
Hill.
Oh, Hill died in 2012? Okay.
Yeah. Asaro was acquitted of all charges and made a free man again. However, it seemed the fate of Burke and Barrio would befall Asaro too. In 17, he was arrested in a road rage incident.
Oh, man.
He got 8 years.
Wow.
Whatever Asaro may or may not know about the heist could very well die with. He could very well die with behind bars, like it was with Burke.
I will say this: for those of you who are thrill seekers and like to geocache and like to treasure hunt, let me clarify something for you. None of this money or jewels was ever found. It's still out there somewhere. So, while I personally wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole, it's blood money as far as I'm concerned. It is still out there, ladies and gentlemen. Where? I have no idea.
Now, to this day, not only was the money ever found, like you just said, but the Lufthansa heist remains one of the longest, not to mention bloodiest and most storied open cases in American history.
I believe it. It's been going on since, what, 28? No, since
79.
Since 79. So that's 45 years? Roughly? Yeah, it's roughly 45 years. I mean, I mean, I was 9 years old when this case, when this happened. And wow, that's crazy to me. But it did have a cultural impact. I'm going to go into that now, if that's okay.
Yeah.
As we discussed, there are books written about it, and of course there was the award-winning Goodfellas that was written by Pileggi and Scorsese. It actually, some say that Goodfellas marked Scorsese's greatest work of art, or his greatest body of work, I should say. Worldwide, Goodfellas netted. Actually, no, I'm sorry. It grossed worldwide box office $47,103,483. That's worldwide. It is a 13-time award winner. Some of those awards include Best Design, Best Supporting Actor, Best Direction, just to name a few. Several other smaller, lesser-known movies have also been made. The $10 Million Heist, which was made for TV in 1991. And, excuse me, there was hold on, The Goodfellas, The $10 Million Heist, and The Big Heist in 2001 are three of those last two were made for television. Now, where this really had a cultural impact is in book sales. I don't have the actual numbers for the books, but I do have a list of books if that's something that would interest some of you. You have The Good Rat, which was written by Jimmy Breslin. You also have The Big Heist, the real story of the Lufthansa heist, the mafia, and murder by Anthony M. DiStefano. Yeah. I'm massacring that name, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize. The Lufthansa heist by Henry Hill and Daniel Simone. Now, this next one is not specifically about the heist, although it does touch on the heist. It's the Mafia Summit, J. Edgar Hoover, the Kennedy brothers, and the meeting that unmasked the mob by Gil Revel. Excuse me. Sorry to say Revelin. And then, of course, there's the book, Wise Guy by Nicholas Pileggi, which we've already discussed, the New York crime reporter, in 1985. Scorsese read the book, as I stated earlier, and loved it, and invited Pileggi to help co-write the screenplay that became Goodfellas.
Goodfellas.
That's what I said, Goodfellas.
Sound like you said fellows.
Goodfellas. The mystery of the Lufthansa heist, the mystery of the Lufthansa Airlines heist. A Wise Guy reveals the untold story by Robert Subner was another one. The Last Good Heist, which was written in 2016, and it was it was a collaboration of authors by William Worcester, author Randall Richard, and author Tim White. Then there is the Inside Lufthansa Heist, The FBI Lied by Kerry Whalen, which we have discussed quite a bit tonight. And I personally am looking into getting either seeing if the library has it or purchasing the book, because I'm interested to see what lies the FBI supposedly told. Now, I have read excerpts, and according to Whalen, the way that the FBI handled the initial part of the investigation, they tried to ride roughshod over witnesses, coerce statements, manhandle people. It was botched, as I believe was the word that Whalen used from the get-go.
And he also, from what I had seen at one point, he used the Freedom of Information Act to get documentation, and said that a lot of what he got was
redacted,
beyond redacted.
Of course. And what are they trying to do? Protect the innocent? Come on now. They were, yeah. That's why I'm interested in that book. I want to see what Whalen says, because let's face facts, folks. Every story has two sides. There's Whalen's side, there's the FBI side, and somewhere in the middle is what is actually the truth. And I'm curious to see if I can spot that. Because I don't necessarily 100% believe Whalen, but I know I don't believe the FBI. So I'm just curious to see how that works out. That pretty much covers what we have on the heist, I think.
I do have, I don't know if you came across this,
mm-hmm.
But I just realized I had this. The amounts, the amount that they took, the
right.
$5 million in untraceable bills and the 800,000 in jewels,
right,
at the time of the heist.
Yes.
In 2022,
right,
the cash would have been worth $22.4 million, and the jewels
would have been worth like
worth $3.6 million.
3.6. Okay. So we're talking
so
20,
what was
30...
not even worth $6 million would have been worth $26 million.
So you talk about your rate of inflation, ladies and gentlemen. Basically, that heist would have netted them $26 million today.
And it's still out there.
And
nobody knows.
As I stated earlier, folks, it is still out there. So if you geocachers and treasure hunters really want to dabble into that, it is out there. I'm not suggesting you do that, however, but I'm not going to tell you what to do or what not to do.
And, the History Channel.
The History Channel.
I realize that that's become less of a really trustworthy source.
Oh, not even. It's never been a trustworthy source.
Well, once I think it was A&E took it over, it lost a lot of its
credibility. Yes.
But they give you some details that we didn't get a chance to, that I don't think we can.
Okay. Can you allude to some of them? Without going into detail that we might possibly.
Let's say freezer truck.
Oh, yes. The freezer truck where it allegedly took 2 days to commit an autopsy after removing said individual.
Yeah.
So you can say things like that. Yes, that actually, while the body was found in a freezer truck, there was nothing stated that it actually took 2 days.
No, that it doesn't say. But
right, that might have been a
hogtied.
The individual was hogtied. Wow. And that was who again?
It doesn't say where I'm at now, and I don't
recall if
it says anywhere else. But yeah, hogtied inside.
Could you imagine dying that way, being eliminated that way?
Well, this doesn't say whether the person was hogtied and then put in.
Still, your body is found that way.
Yeah. The trauma the body had to have gone through, whether
frozen,
already gone or not.
Okay, there's no way they're going to be able to hogtie the body while it's frozen.
No. But whether the person,
but to be found that way.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that the dearly departed isn't there to really care, but just for the sake of any family that might have.
The loss of dignity.
Yes, exactly. That to me is just mind blowing that there was that much loss of dignity. But I hope you all have enjoyed this. We had a great time kind of delving into it. This is the kind of thing that I'm going to be covering on the Mutt's American Crime. I'm working on getting some of those videos together even as we speak. Please do me a favor, or do us a favor on this video tonight. Please leave a like. Let us know what you think by dropping a comment. It really does help us get this out, and I would really like to try to grow the channel. Both this channel as well as the Mutt's American Mosaic. Now that we are fully covered on StreamYard, I can now take the recordings and take them over and put them on Mutt's American Crime on YouTube as well. I just happened to wanted to test the Twitch to try to expand the audience some tonight. So if you all could please leave a like on this, like, share, subscribe if you're not already subscribed. If you find yourself coming back, to quote somebody that I watch frequently, and you're not quite sure why, but you still keep coming back, go ahead and subscribe. Hit that bell notice. Tickle the bell, if you will. It does help. And, we will continue to cover the Americana here. If you like true crime, look us up or look me up, because that Mutt's American Crime is kind of going to be a solo thing while Mrs. Mutt's in school.
Occasionally I make.
Yeah, she will make occasional appearances. I'm not saying that she's disappearing. And we will be continuing. Let me make clear, we will be continuing the conversation with the Mutts. But I just, we're also venturing out. So please feel free to subscribe to both channels. It would mean the world to us, because I know that we do have a very, very dedicated, that's the word I'm looking for, core group of people. And I would love to see you all follow me over on the other channel, as well as continue to follow us here.
As well as others.
Yes.
Join.
Yeah, absolutely.
Become...
Absolutely. Absolutely. We again want to say a very heartfelt thank you for taking your time today to watch this or listen to this. And for those who will be listening to the rerun and are a member of the rerun crew, or rewind crew as we affectionately refer to you, who catch this tomorrow or the next day.
Or whenever.
Or whenever.
Even if it's 3 years from now.